I'm really excited to have you all with us this evening. Now we're going to talk about choosing an angel group. So, we've had all this conversation about what angel investing is and why it's important and why everyone should care about this. But what we want to help people to see through this conversation is that there are different groups, there are different personalities to groups. There are, based on your investment criteria, one group might be for you and, versus another. And we want to help people to understand what exists and the range of different options. And we know even beyond the four of you, there are so many options that are out there. But we like to get people, started with you all. So I would like for each of you to please introduce yourself and your organization in just 1 minute, and then we'll come back for some conversation to dive deeper into your organization. Emily, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I love going first, and I love it when we only have a minute. Since we always ask everyone else to do an elevator pitch, I feel like we should have to do one ourselves, right? So hi, everyone. I'm calling in from Colorado. I'm Emily Winslow. I'm the Director of Investments and Impact at Social Venture Circle. I actually used to be a member of Social Venture Circle, which is part of the reason I'm excited to be on the call tonight. I was running an early stage impact investing family office based in Denver, Colorado, and was sitting on the other side of the table. And now that I work for SVC, I work with all of our investor members nationally because I touch all of the different investment activity that we do, as well as helping support them find portfolio companies for them to invest in as well. All of our members at Social Venture Circle, we have over 500 of them at this point, believe that business can be a force for good. Our investors use their assets to make a difference in the world, but also look for a return on their investment. So as impact investors, our members are looking to invest in the next economy, one that's just, restorative, and during COVID times, we say resilient and works for everyone. So excited to be here to share more about our activities. We're a national organization and we have 7 different local chapters. Half of our membership is women who are investors. And then we also really look at investing in women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of color as well.
Thank you, Emily. And Loretta.
Thanks. Thank you, Jill. I'm one of the founding members of Golden Seeds. We have been around for 15 years. I'm in New York, but we are a nationwide organization. We started Golden Seeds as to close the gap of funding for women entrepreneurs. And for all of this time, we have done only that. We will only consider a company if at least one woman is leading the company. We've never deviated from that. We still believe the gap is very substantial. So that's where we are. So anyone thinking about joining Golden Seeds needs to realize that's where we are. That's unlikely to change. Our investors, however, are both men and women. About 20% of our investors are men. We think they're the most enlightened men we know or have ever known because they really care deeply about funding women. From the very beginning, I was interested, Emily, that you said you have chapters all over the country. Quite early after we started Golden Seeds, we realized that we had rather unwittingly created a condition where we were expecting entrepreneurs to come into New York to see us. And that wasn't going to work because we knew there were great entrepreneurs everywhere. So we started chapters as well. And we have 8 all over the country, including New Jersey and New York and 6 other locations. We invest in most sectors. We've invested $130 million in 180 companies.
Thank you so much. And next, Kimberly, welcome. You're new to our community here. So we're glad to have you.
Oh, hi. Thank you. I'm really honored to be a part of this now. But mainly, I'm a part of Pipeline Angels. And I have to say, I just give just a lot of thanks to all of you, Emily, Loretta, and Haley, because I'm a corporate person. 28 years with Target Corporation in HR and head of diversity for the time. But I wanted, I had this passion after I retired that I really wanted to feel like what else can I do? So I joined Pipeline Angels, and Pipeline Angels is the it's a different part of friends and family, but I've been really excited about it in terms of just the teaching, it's more like teaching us how to be angel investors. So that part has been pretty incredible. And with Natalia, who's our CEO, has really taught us, but that part has been awesome, and learning all of that because of my passion and what I would say my next is. So I've been really excited about that. So thank you. And I'm excited to be a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much. And Haley.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. I'm always talking to people in different time zones. Like my colleague that I work closest with is in India right now. She got stuck there in lockdown. So I never know what day it is. I mean, in quarantine. But anyway, hello and good whatever day. I'm introducing myself and talking about Plumally. I am focused on two areas, as mentioned previously: deep technology and frontier healthcare. Healthcare is about 30% of our portfolio, and we have coverage across diagnostics, therapeutics, medical devices, regenerative medicine, companies growing bone from stem cells, and CRISPR technology, doing things like diagnosing the coronavirus. The remaining 30% of our portfolio currently is focused on deep technology and actually a good amount of exposure in hardware. So we've done all autonomous electric fleet transport platforms, a lot of Internet of Things devices, companies detecting things like air quality or water quality or natural disasters, and sort of different platforms for automation and applied AI. We have in-hospital robots. We have the company that competes with Amazon Go for checkout-free retail. So a lot of really exciting areas of focus right now that have tailwinds given the coronavirus pandemic. But in terms of, Plumally and where we sit from an investor's perspective, our focus, we operate very much like a traditional VC firm. So individuals come into play because you can pay a small amount a year to be a member of Plumally, but there's no commitment to invest. You don't have to if you don't want to. You could invest up to, we have thresholds, but they're in the million some range. We also have a venture fund where we accept sort of non-direct angel investments, but where you can get exposure to a broader array of Plumally's portfolio. So the way that it works, if you're a member, it's different than a typical angel group because, again, you don't have to pay a certain amount per year. You sort of join and you get our communication and our thought leadership, and we send you deal flow and we send you information about, what's going on with COVID or the economy or, what's new in agricultural technology or robotics or whatever it may be. So we have sort of, a content-driven approach and platform. And we've got, just been building this for the past 4 years. So we're not a $1 billion legacy fund. It's, quite the opposite. We've just done 20 deals. We've deployed 25 million. And our portfolio companies together have raised $500 million. So, we're getting there. We're just scratching the surface again. It's some women that came from Wall Street and sort of experienced a lot of pain points from both the entrepreneur and investor side themselves, and just said, hey, let's do something about it. Let's try to solve both problems at once. So we have a little bit of a platform approach, and it's a win-win because our companies get access to these hundreds of individuals if they want, and they're senior executives and directors of public company boards and powerful business leaders across industries who are highly motivated to contribute, far beyond the capital. So we've got, family offices and other entities.
Oh, wait, give me a couple of questions that I can ask you.
Okay, sorry.
You're
I'm
stealing
done.
all my thunder here.
You have to cut me off or else I won't stop. So
I just know you're so passionate, Haley, about what you do, and you could tell everyone about it. But I want to pick up on something that you said in terms of, you started to say what makes you different. And each group really has a personality. So I'd love to hear from each of you. And Loretta, why don't we start with you? Well, Haley already started, but let's go to you now about, what is that personality of Golden Seeds, and what makes Golden Seeds, a little different from some of the other angel groups that are out there?
So I'd say that, I mean, you have to always start with us, as with other groups here, with this incredible passion to get capital to women. If somebody does not have passion about that, then this is not the place for them, because it's really what we are focused on. We are enraged when women are not getting the kind of capital that we feel they need. So that is certainly the starting place. Beyond that, I would say that a differentiator is that we do ask our investors to work. If at all possible, we ask them to serve on the due diligence team every year, more than once a year if they can. Some people cannot, just don't have the time to do it, but we do meet about 1,100 companies a year, and the only way we can evaluate them is to engage our members. So we train them. We really urge them to be engaged with these companies, and I'd say that is a key differentiator is member engagement. We have over 200-300 members all over the country, and many of them are really engaged in the work.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know Stephanie, didn't know much about this a year ago, and now she's on all kind of calls and doing work and everything. So, I know you have to jump right in and do work. Emily, what would you say makes Social Venture Circle a little bit different?
Sure. I mean, at our core, Social Venture Circle is focused on impact. Whether that means investing in an entrepreneurial team that is diverse, and whether that means that it's looking at an environmental company or looking at a company that's really pursuing social justice and equity. Impact really has to be baked into the model of the companies that we invest in. One thing I was remiss in sharing before is that our group has been around for over 40 years, and we've moved over $150 million to support early stage impact companies, which is something that we're really proud of. One of the things that also makes us a little bit different is we're also a social network, which I know sounds a little bit silly to reiterate our name as Social Venture Circle. But in addition to working together in the boardroom and looking at companies, our investors are friends. Outside of the group, they have opportunities to engage with each other and work with each other on other projects as well. People can really bring their full selves to the table when they come to Social Venture Circle. So we see that oftentimes our members will be working on projects together in terms of looking at a deal together on a due diligence team, and then that will extend into policy work. Even on a call today, we were talking about universal basic income and what we're going to do about it. So really starting with a place of learning and interest and figuring out how you can find values aligned partners in your peer group. One thing we're also really proud of is the fact that we have members who've been investing in early stage companies for over 40 years. So they're very seasoned and experts in the space. But we also have folks who are just looking to make their first investment that have the opportunity to really get to know and learn from their peers.
Nice. So following kind of on that theme of learning and learning from each other, Kimberly, tell us what makes Pipeline different, but let's follow up more on that, what you said earlier about education and why that was so important, not coming from this space. What did you feel like you gained from Pipeline Angels in that level of comfort?
Yeah, no, great question. I think, with Pipeline Angels, we're with Angel, we say our name's Angels, but I know sometimes there is a differentiation with that. And a lot of it is with Pipeline is we are the friends and family. So we kind of gather to people who are, I'll say women. It is definitely women and non-binary femmes. So anyone who identifies with womanhood is who we cater to. So we really try to help that niche of the market and really try to help them. So with that, we're the friends and family. So our, most of that organization area doesn't have people who can help them, because I know even with me, people are like, can I be one of your Pipeline Angels? In my own family, so you know how that goes. So it's just, people we really want to definitely help, and I think that's how we differentiate ourselves in terms of really helping with that. And it's been great in terms of being a part of an organization. We have a cohort, and when you said the education, there's a boot camp with Pipeline Angels that's really been helpful in terms of really, and I have to give shout out to Loretta, because there's a lot of Golden Seeds who have come on board to help us understand that. So it really is people helping us understand how to be an investor, because a lot of people, especially in my community, don't understand it. So I was being funny when I said my family, but it's the community that sometimes doesn't understand understanding investing in someone outside of yourself versus your family, sending, because if you're an accredited investor, a lot of times, especially in my community, accredited investor, we're sending most of my family to college. You know, we're the first who made it. I'm third generation college educated, so that part is a little different, but still from a corporate standpoint, I'm first generation corporate officer that my family hasn't seen. So there is that piece, and just really trying to, my goal is really trying to educate other people like me to like understanding what investing is. My family, I'm trying to help them understand, because they're getting college educated, and I'm like, okay, when you get that big bonus, and then of course it was a couple of years ago, they might not get it this year, but if they're getting that bonus, like, let's look at maybe you can invest in a company. So those are things that I'm really appreciative of Pipeline in terms of the education going into it, because now I kind of understand, and now I know the jargon, the common language of investing.
Yeah, and that's really important. Just that comfort level of understanding the language. Haley, I want to go to you for a second.
I was just going to say, when Kimberly mentioned the trigger, whether it's an annual bonus or whatever it is that gets you over the hump, you know, now in this sort of recessionary period, there's a lot of talk about, you know, whether now is a good time to get into the market. But the fact of the matter is, you know, deals are on sale. Valuations are more modest, or companies are raising at the same valuation they were, you know, maybe 12 to 18 months ago. So it always is, you know, from a education perspective, it's always like, hey, when is the right time, and how much, and how many deals should I do, and how do I diversify? So there's a lot of questions to ask when you're building portfolio, but that was a really, you know, interesting point that you brought up. In terms of differentiation, I will try to be brief.
Wait, I want to ask you something specific about your differentiation.
Okay.
Because even though you're not an angel group where,
Right.
you know, Loretta described getting in and doing the work, how does Plum Alley still support the learning component given your model?
Yeah. Well, it's important to note that from an outsider's perspective, like all like angel groups or syndicates or anything that has to do with like multiple people investing in like one line item on a cap table, all is kind of bucketed into the same thing. So like the whole ecosystem of VC, it's like, okay, it's your angel, it's your friends and family, it's your whatever, but there's so much that goes on behind those, you know, on that line item or whatever it may be, that's sort of behind closed doors. So, and you've seen over the course of the past just 3 minutes, you know, how many sort of different examples we have of that. So from an education perspective is a really interesting point, because you can get an education on how to be an investor in a number of different ways. I mean, they have public courses, they have private courses, you can go to get your MBA, you know, there's a lot of ways to figure out, okay, how do I do this in a public or private setting? But then, as you mentioned, the whole point of this panel is, you know, how to choose a group. So, you know, with Plum Alley, in terms of the education perspective, I built a pipeline of 4,500 companies, and all of these fit our investment criteria of having a woman founder and being in, you know, tech or healthcare. So one of the things that's different about Plum Alley, just from a, you know, sort of housekeeping perspective, is that we focus very narrowly on a few sectors, and it's very technical. So we don't do anything that like people really relate to or understand. Like we don't do like food and beverages or CPG or like anything that like you can pick up and be like, oh, I get it. Like for us, there's usually a good amount of a learning curve when we're talking, you know, we have a lot of really technical investors, but it's always something that is, you know, we as a team and an investment committee also have to sort of get on board with it. So the education element comes in the form of what we call Inside Views, which is sort of a think tank session. And we do them, we've done blockchain, we've done cybersecurity, we've done the future of food, we've done, hardware and robotics. So we have all these sort of sectors. So we have like a half day or full day session where we bring in all these different experts and all these really smart people and all these female founders, and everyone gets in the same room and we dive super deep on a really nerdy topic, and it's amazing and like really fun. But that's sort of how we get into these sectors. Is we say, okay, we're interested, we think this is a good bet from an economic perspective, let's learn a little bit more. So we do one of these kind of like in-person sessions if we can, and then we try to find a deal. Sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't, but whatever it is, we always try to keep ourselves like really sharp. In terms of like, the people that are investing with us, like they're all accredited at Plum-Alley. That's one of our requirements. You can be a member, but you can't invest if you're not accredited. So you're still welcome to join, but just in terms of building a portfolio. We don't ask you to do anything like in terms of the education. Like we'll say you can come, you cannot come. You can listen to the recording online. You don't have to. If you're sending your kid to college this year and you don't want to pay attention, you don't have to. Like it's very hands off. Like we have a lot of members that have been around for years and are super active, but we also have a lot of people that are just getting involved or just got their new executive position and are distracted. So like we don't ask you for anything. There's no commitment to invest. You don't have to, like, we do the work as our team, but
there's an annual membership,
right? Which is nominal compared to the access you get and your ability to invest. So it's
right.
For many of these people, it's, whatever. Anyway, so it's not an impact investment firm. We get, sort of conflated for that quite a bit just by nature of the sort of deals that we do. But for education, we don't talk about, hey, this is your ESG or sustainability, checkbox. This, we're just doing sort of tech deals. So a little bit more institutional. And then I'd say the final thing in terms of education and just being supportive to our companies is the platform per se, is that, we won't invest in a company unless we feel like we can do a lot of heavy lifting to help them grow and scale. So whether it be within our member base or our existing network, like the one thing that makes us unique investors and why we can get onto cap tables that are pretty crowded or oversubscribed is we can show, examples and case studies of our past portfolio companies and how we've helped them, get on stage at Goldman Sachs or scale globally or whatever it may be. So that's sort of our, what we find is our kind of secret sauce is how we can, support our deals post-investment.
Awesome. Thank you. Loretta, what was the toughest thing about writing your first check?
I think the toughest thing is, particularly when you come from a world like most of us have, whether it's Target or Goldman Sachs or other firms on Wall Street or banks, wherever you come from, you make decisions based upon available information. And when you write a first check for as an angel investor, you basically have incredibly modest amounts of information. And almost all of that information are projections of what this company believes they will do in the future. So I think that you could say, writing any check, but the first one for sure, you realize you're handing a check over to someone with really imperfect information, and but some information that hopefully means you've done due diligence. But I'd say that in angel investing, you just get accustomed to imperfect, little or no information in a lot of the cases.
Emily, how have you seen your investors evolve over time?
It's one of the great joys and challenges of my role to try to match make for investors, to try to find the right company that fits their impact thesis, that hits that return expectation. And, that's stuff that just develops over time. I think the previous session, we were talking a little bit about potentially a portfolio approach. And that can be really scary when you're first getting involved in angel investing and trying to think about what that looks like. But what I've seen as investors continue to invest, after Loretta's talking about that fear of that first check, typically if you write one, you're going to do another. I don't know who said that, but we all say it, and it seems to be true. So once you get after that, kind of momentum starts to build, you start to gain more confidence in terms of how you're looking at that due diligence and figuring out what those boxes are for you. I think in the last session too, we were talking about, or I was listening to how, sometimes that's what we call the beer at a check approach, in terms of I just know you and, we're going to make this happen. And sometimes that can be months of getting to know each other and building that relationship. So one of the things that I'm the most excited about at Social Venture Circle is that we have companies that are a part of our network as well, and thought leaders. So we have companies that, like Ben and Jerry's, who have exited from, extremely, high valuation exits and then have reinvested, and thinking about what that looks like to reinvest in companies at the early stages and what that means to continue to support others. So really having that kind of network approach and seeing how people's thinking can evolve over time, and thinking about how it's not just your one action, but it's about how we create that community and network ripple effect. And it's been really great to work with all of these groups on the panel in terms of sharing deal flow. It's not something that we all do in isolation. It's stuff that we do together as teamwork.
Thank you. Excellent. So I'm going to ask you all for your last statement. And, this has been, there's so much we could talk about. Like, we could do an entire hour session just on this. And I'm going to contact each of you back, because I want to do a webinar conversation with each of you independently, just diving even deeper into this. Because again, it's just such great content. So Haley, speed round. If you had one piece of advice as people are thinking about, how to get involved, what would that one thing be? 2 sentences.
How to get involved in the angel.
Yep. Or what to think about, or a consideration. You want us to come back to you?
No, I'm good. Don't
Okay.
invest anything you wouldn't be willing to lose and write off as a dead, burned cash. Educate yourself on how to diversify your portfolio and be opportunistic, and have fun. This is supposed to be like a part of your life and portfolio that is exciting, and you do things that like you believe should exist in the world. So make sure that if you're going to put your, money and energy into it, that you think it's cool and you want to do it.
Thank you. Love that. Kimberly.
Yeah, I think most things, I think in my community, investing outside of sending your own family or helping your own family, it's new. So it's just really the education of understanding of how we can help and educate. But I also think is that, and I tell my family, we've been doing more Zoom calls than a lot these last couple of months. It's just really, it's about, I just love my, the people I invest in. It's the founders. I just fall in love with the founders, and I just know they can pivot and do what they need to do. And that's been, I won't say I knew that in the beginning, but I realize now that was a common trend when I look at who I invested in, is they just know how to pivot and do what they need to do. So that's been my biggest learning. It's just loving my investors.
Thank you. Loretta.
Well, first of all, I think this is such a great conversation, because I think in a lot of ways, if anyone is thinking about joining a group or starting this kind of investing, it's really worth it to take some time, like tonight and beyond, to get to know some of these groups. Every group will invite people to come to observe. Every group will make somebody available to talk to you by phone or by Zoom to explain what they do. Because by the time you join a group, you've made some kind of a commitment, depending on how long it takes, but it's a certain amount of time and money and a certain amount of collaborating with the people there. And you want to feel this is a good fit all around. So it's really just fine to kind of shop around a little bit, to kind of say, how does it feel to join this group or that group? Because you'll have a sense of what's the best fit for you.
Thank you. Emily.
Oh gosh, just one. This is going to sound negative, but I don't mean it to sound negative, which is that get really comfortable with saying no. I think in this space, especially when we're new to it and everything is exciting, it's a learning opportunity. There's so many amazing founders that you can fund. There's so many cool people that you can invest with. Just get really comfortable with why you're there, with what your purpose is and what you're doing, and then get really clear on what that isn't. So what I've always said is no is actually kind, and being able to kind of share that kind of upfront is a really great way to start. So while you're looking around and learning and trying things out, that's really great, and don't be afraid to say no.
Excellent, thank you. And something else I want everyone to also think about and to understand is that there are investors who are part of multiple groups. So, you know, as you get into this and get comfortable, you might join one group and then meet some people and say, oh, I like what they're doing over here and it's a little bit different, and you join another group. So it's not that you have to pick one versus another. You might want to start with one and get your feet wet, but you know, there's certainly an opportunity to join more than one. These are all fantastic groups that are doing amazing work and have really been moving the needle as far as investing in diverse founders. So thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. Haley, Kimberly, Loretta, and Emily, thank you so much.